2021 Subaru Ascent, Subaru's first three-row crossover since the Tribeca. Anyone remember that? Today we're going to find out how far this Subaru can ascend in the three-row crossover market. Subaru came out with the Ascent to replace the Tribeca in late 2018 as a 2019 model year, and it's doing okay for them. You know, sales were actually really good in 2019. No one had a good year in 2020, and off to 2021, so far mid-2021, the Ascent's kind of having a rocky start to the year. So we're going to try to find out what's going on with the Ascent and maybe why it's kind of slipping behind its competitors out there. And we're going to start with the exterior design. This looks like a Subaru. You're not going to mistake it for anything else. It just kind of looks like a larger Outback or an overgrown Subaru Forester. It kind of looks like both of those vehicles, just a little bit taller, porkier, and larger wheels. And I wouldn't say this vehicle looks bad in any way. It just looks very average. And if you don't want a vehicle that's going to stand out in the crowd, and you just want something that's going to look pleasing to the eye, I think this design will age really well because it's very conservative. So it's not going to blow anyone's minds with the design. Not necessarily a bad thing as well, because like I said, I think it will age well and it allows people to be a little bit incognito. And you know, no one's going to second guess that you're in a Subaru. Now, getting on the inside of this limited grade, we have leather seats. My wife and I both think they are very, very comfortable on the firmer side, but still comfortable. And this driver's side has an extendable thigh cushion. You typically don't see that in vehicles of this price point. Speaking of which, it's around 43, 44K. How this limited is adorned. We have, oh, watch out, I almost nailed that pigeon. We have an additional technology package on here, which gives you the Harman Kardon sound system, which doesn't get very loud. And when it's at full tilt, it doesn't sound that great. So it's not, I wouldn't recommend getting it if you are like a huge audiophile, because you might be disappointed. I'm sure it's better than the base, but it's not that great, to be honest. And one of the other big features to this limited grade with the technology package is the gorgeous pano sunroof. My daughter loves looking out of the top of it, and she yells at me if I close it, and she's 2. So I know what she likes. Now this one also has a captain's chairs, and for a family of my size, I have 4 little ones, the oldest being 5 years old. It barely just meets the requirement. It's still too small for us, to be honest. There's a little bit of cargo space behind the 3rd row. I can live with it, but don't think you're going to be able to put strollers back there if you have occupants in the 3rd row. You have USB chargers in the 2nd and 3rd row. I do like that. You do have heated outboard seats for the captain's chairs, and you do also have heated, not ventilated seats up here. If you want ventilated seats, you have to spring for the top of the line touring package, which costs a couple grand more than this, around 45K or so. It feels wide. I feel like I have a ton of space in here. That's a good thing. But one of the things that just I just don't get it is, okay, come on, police officer. Police officer not going on green. We don't have front parking sensors on this vehicle. We have eyesight, and it works pretty well. It keeps you in the lane if you want it to, and it lets you know when it's not going to keep you in the lane. It blinks at you with some lights on the windshield, and it makes some noises. But no parking sensors in the front of this vehicle. You have them on the rear, but not on the front. Really just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I've been in so many vehicles that are priced way, way less than this, about 20 grand less than this, that have front parking sensors. So that's a tough one for me to stomach. Also, even if you want the touring package, you won't be able to get 360 camera. They give you an additional camera on the front for a 180-degree view for the front. Of course, you have the backup camera, which, by the way, is average and muddy quality at best. So it's unfortunate that they have pretty good safety technology with the eyesight, but they don't give you 360 camera and not even the option for it, and they also didn't give you the option for front parking sensors. Now, in terms of ergonomics, the steering wheel is okay. It's not the most comfortable, but it gets the job done. My arm rests pretty nicely on the shifter, even though it feels like it's kind of dropping down onto the shifter. I would like it to be a little bit higher so I could just easily adjust the climate control, which, by the way, is all knobs, so I like that Subaru. It's very basic, but I do like function over aesthetics. I like function over form. That's what I'm going for here. And you also have volume knobs and tuning knobs, so I appreciate that Subaru has kept the knob life in this Subaru Ascent. And the screen, this is the top line screen. It's pretty darn small. It works well. It's very easy to get to, so I appreciate that. But yeah, we also have a screen above that, which is going to give you additional metrics on the vehicle. So it's kind of tucked away. I rarely ever look at it. It's almost an afterthought compared to what I have going on in the instrument cluster and what I have going on with the infotainment display. So in the future, I just don't know where that third screen has a place. But we need to talk about performance. This vehicle has a 4-cylinder, 2.4 liter FA24 turbocharged boxer engine, 260 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque. This is supposed to be the engine that's going to be dropped in the new WRX debuting by the end of this year, sometime by the end of 2021. And it's mated to a CVT. So what we're going to do is we're going to gun it off the line. Oh my gosh. Nothing, it just doesn't, yeah. Gunning it is not going to be enjoyable for you guys from a standstill. That's the first time I've done it, and I'm actually pretty disappointed. The engine has decent specs, but the CVT doesn't give a time when you're at the beginning of a start to have some showroom or time to shine. So I have found that the torque is pretty usable in stop and go traffic, when you're merging into traffic, things like that. It's actually pretty acceptable. But from a stop there, that is very, very disappointing for a $40,000+ vehicle to have that sort of lethargic performance off of the stop. Now, speaking of a stop, I'm going to come to a stop here. The brakes are fantastic. I love the brake feel in here. It's very linear, progressive. I'm in love. It's an A+ brake pedal. But what is kind of bothering me about the CVT, since I've been driving it not full force like you guys just saw, I've been driving it pretty moderately. As you take off, you have a good amount of response, and then it acts like it's almost shifting a gear, and then it just kind of falls flat on its face. And so the traffic starts pulling away from you. So you have to push into the gas pedal a little bit more for it to start accelerating at the rate it started at from a stop. It's kind of hard to explain. I'll try to do it one more time. Get into the brake switch. My God, I love them. Love them. That's one of the best. By the way, we'll get into how this vehicle feels and handles in the road composure and things like that. But just kind of slowly rolling onto the gas, it gets to about like 2,000 RPM, and then the revs just drop to about 1,200 RPM before you reach 20 miles an hour, and your acceleration just stops. So you have to push the gas pedal again to re-accelerate. It's a very strange thing, and I think Subaru probably has done it for fuel economy, be my guess. I've been driving this vehicle a lot. I've put over 200 miles on it in the past couple days, well, 3 or 4 days. Between taking my kids to school, which I've been in Carline a lot, I ran this down to Marco Island, did a fishing trip with my buddy who's trying to get his social media started, so I'll put him in the description so you can check him out. We got some cool fishing scenes. But anyways, fuel economy, 19 miles per gallon, a little bit over, and a lot of that I probably have spent about 2 hours in this vehicle just idling. So that's actually pretty decent for a vehicle of this size. Subaru thinks on average you can get around 22 miles per gallon. I think that's actually quite accurate. Now, how this vehicle feels on the road is it's great. It's quiet, it's smooth, it handles the bumps and the irregularities in the road extremely well. It's well damped. Like, you know, it's not going to handle the best, but it actually handles better than you think it would for such a large SUV. So I'm really impressed with the ride quality in this vehicle. The ride quality is really, really good. It's insulated well. And like I said, I just love getting into these brakes. They're so satisfactory. So yeah, I mean, nice job, Subaru. As I come to a hard stop here, there's a little bit of pitch and dive, but it doesn't throw you back and forth several times like a teeter-totter. It does a really good job soaking it in the front and then leveling out. So I really enjoy how this vehicle rides. So final thoughts on Subaru's return to the 3-row crossover game with this Ascent. For my needs, and I'm outside of the norm. I have, like I said, 4 young children, so this vehicle doesn't work that great for me, but I have been using it as my daily driver with my family for the past 4 or 5 days, and it does what I need it to do. It's a little bit cramped for the passengers in the rear. When I sit in the third row, my head's touching the ceiling. So don't expect to put adults back there unless they're 5 feet tall or shorter. But the vehicle handles great, the ride quality is great, the brakes are great, the looks are subdued and, you know, kind of minimalistic. The engine's actually pretty good, but it's hamstrung by the CVT, especially from a stop. When you're out up to speed already and you hammer it, the response is really good, but the response from a stop, when you need that pep, it just isn't there. You know, you're waiting around, and you never feel like you get that full 277 pound-feet of torque in this vehicle. So the Subaru Ascent, it has a lot of good qualities to it. If it had a regular automatic torque converter transmission, I think it would be doing better in the market. I feel like all the competition, like its closest competitor in terms of sales right now is the aging Mazda CX-9, and that has a very limited interior space like this vehicle does. But the Mazda has a more upscale interior. The transmission, the 6-speed transmission, blows this CVT away. And it looks a little bit more elegant, a little bit more sporty as well compared to the Subaru Ascent. So if you want to check out my review on the CX-9, make sure to do that. But I would probably pick that vehicle and a lot of other 3-row crossovers over this, just due to the fact that I don't like the lethargic response from the start. If that doesn't bother you and you're okay with the CVT, then by all means, the rest of the car is really, really, really good, I would say. But it's not going to be the most technologically advanced. It's not going to be the most aggressive looking. You're going to get good performance in terms of ride feel and handling. You're going to get great performance with the brakes. But other than that, I mean, the rest of the vehicle is kind of leaving you wanting a little bit more. But hopefully Subaru can put in something other than a CVT, but I'm not getting my hopes up since CVTs are throughout their whole lineup. Look, they put a CVT in the WRX. So yeah, my hopes aren't really there. But guys, if you're interested in the Subaru Ascent, let's say you have like an Outback, a Subaru Legacy or something, you need more space in your family, this is definitely worth checking out. And it is overall a pretty good vehicle. And I've already talked about the CVT enough. So guys, I will end it there. What do you think about the Subaru Ascent? Has a lot of things going for it, a few things that aren't, and that's unfortunate in today's market because the 3-row crossover game is so damn competitive. You got to bring your A game to it if you want to hang with the best of them. But guys, I'm going to end it there. This is my first Subaru review, and if you enjoyed it, you want to see more of it, make sure you smash the like button so Subaru knows. Make sure you put your thoughts and your comments and your questions in the comment section below, and subscribe for more Subaru news and updates and reviews like this. I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out.